Hi, this is Phoebe Blamey and welcome to the Happy Money Journey podcast for today. I'm really excited to have you here. I have spent most of my life working in financial services. I'm a qualified financial planner and I have my own mortgage broking business since 2006. I know that as a busy woman, it's really hard to get your life into some sort of shape.
Thank you.
And so I'm here to help you on your own happy money journey.
And if you're not on it yet, please feel free to jump on anytime. Or if you just prefer to put your earbuds in and listen to us, here we are. So last week we talked all about vivid visioning and how to create a vision for yourself and why to create a vision for yourself, and why drawing was more important and all of those things. And then that got me thinking a little bit, and it got me thinking about how do we then communicate that with our partners? Because those people that are our partners or our children or our parents are part of our lives and can be part of our beautiful vision for our future and ourselves. So I thought that this week we might talk about putting that vision into action with a partner, but also having some of those really difficult and confronting money conversations. So let's get started. So starting at the very beginning, if you sit down with your partner, old or new, just have a seat with them and sit down and have a chat with them about what are some of the things that they see in their future with you? What are some of the things that as a family or as a unit you guys want to achieve? How is your retirement going to look? Where do you want to live? Just let's get some of those things out of the way. And what are some of the things that you want to have on your absolute bucket list? Because if you have this kind of really open, honest conversation, you guys are on the same journey. You're driving the same car. Sometimes you might be driving it. Sometimes they might be driving it. But having those conversations as a constant in your relationship of where you want to go or what you want to do over the next few years can be really fun. And it can really give you a sense of shared values and shared goals. So jump into those conversations as easy as they are and create that vision. But then there's the more difficult conversations that come up, I think, with partners and particularly new partners. So this week I had a request from Ella who really wanted to understand a little bit more of where she was at and what she should be doing with her new partner as far as having those really difficult money conversations.
Hi, my name's Ella. I'm 45. I'm very excited to be in a new relationship that is getting serious. We've had conversations about his children because he is divorced and he has 3 kids. I've never really felt comfortable discussing money previously, but we've had such great conversations around his kids and our expectations and our timelines for our future. So I know it's getting serious and we do share really similar values and ideals, but like I said, I'm just not really comfortable discussing money, but I do know it is important. My previous partner was from a really wealthy family and we never really discussed money at all. He just took the lead and took over everything. We got together when we were a lot younger, but now I feel like there is a bit more at stake, especially having kids. It's different. But I don't even know how to have the money chat. Like, what do I need to know? What do I need to know about our incomes? We do earn very different money. So when it comes to living together, how do I even begin to navigate that? We did go on our first holiday together recently, and I think we did okay. We paid equally for accommodation and petrol, but because he earns more, he did pay more for the meals out and any unplanned activities or anything extra that he might have wanted to do, which I just went along with a bit. But we did split our planned activities 50-50, so we did know the budget in advance. But now I guess I'm asking, how do I know the right time to discuss money and how do I even do that?
Ella's right at the beginning of this relationship, and what fun to go on holiday together and really get to know each other. And at that point, why not go 50-50? We're right at the beginning of the relationship. She wants to go in on an equal footing. It's like when you first start dating someone and you're going out to dinner with them. Why not go 50-50? This is your entertainment and their entertainment. They don't know you. You're just in that getting to know you stage. So I don't have any issues with that 50-50. And it was nice that when he had an extra activity that he wanted to do, that he paid for it, because why not? But yeah, I see nothing wrong with the 50-50. Now that's very different from living together. So in the future, they might decide to live together and then we've got to make all these other big plans and have these big money conversations. But right at the beginning of the relationship, we're looking for those shared values, and we're looking to see what this person's view of money is, whether it fits in with Ella's values herself. And so Ella's got to know a bit about herself and about what she wants to achieve. It also might do Ella a bit of good to get onto her like money behaviors. Just have a little mental run through of what are some of her money stories, what are some of her money fears, how was money in her last relationship, who controlled her money, and why this is then going to inform her next relationship. Because you can bring to those conversations sometimes a whole lot of pent up resentment, shame, stress. You might be used to being looked at in a certain way. And we really want to get on top of that for Ella. So before she goes in and has these money conversations, let's just do a little internal work of what are some of the things that have come up for you before, and what are some of the things that you want to change. And the best way to do this is think of a recent money conversation you had where you were filled with stress or anger or resentment, because this new way of being with her money is all about how Ella is actually taking responsibility for herself and showing up for herself. If in her past relationship she just left it all to her life partner, that's so common. But it's often because we've been in that relationship for a really long time. Roles were taken early. If you're in a current relationship and you find that's happening, there's nothing wrong with having that starting a new conversation about money. Start with a phrase like, I feel like I haven't been really involved in our finances and I'd really like to be more involved. So I feel like I haven't been really involved in our finances and I feel like I would like to be more involved. Why not? So Ella's at the beginning, back to Ella at the beginning of her new relationship. Some of the fears and resentments that she may have, some of that feeling of financial coercion. She might have been in relationships before where there was a form of sexually transmitted debt. I had a client who had gotten a personal loan out so that her partner could buy a car just for him in his name. So she's borrowed the money, but she's given it to him. So she's got nothing over this car. She can't put insurance on it. She can't do anything. It's not her car. He has a car accident. Car gets written off. He chooses not to pay back her. He chooses not to pay her back for the loan. She's stuffed. She's now got a poor credit report because because she was financially coerced into giving him a loan that she took out in her name, and that now there's really nothing that she can do about. She's got to just pay that loan back. Now, I have to say there are some lenders that are getting more and more aware of this, and it's worth it. If you ever find yourself in that position, please have a conversation with please have a conversation with your lender or with your bank, because seriously now, financial coercion in my state in Victoria is considered a form of family violence, and it's something that we see all the time, and it is something that lenders are starting to act on. So difficult as it is, these money conversations are actually really important, and they're really important because, well, one, as women, we need to stand in our own power around money. We really do. We don't want to be in a position where we're being financially coerced or we're taking on sexually transmitted debt, because something like 67% of people in WA felt like they'd been financially coerced at some point in their lives. And it happens to us. And it happens to us because the media really informs the way that women and men are treated or viewed differently in relation to the way that we are with money. And this has been a study, and I will find the study for you, but a study done in the UK around how women and men are perceived differently when it comes to spending and saving. And the interesting thing that was found from this study was that women are often perceived as frivolous, they spend too much, we get it wrong all the time, we don't know our money, we're not comfortable around money. Whereas men are perceived as, in advertising, as risk takers. They're going out, they're owning it, they're making the big risks, they're making the big financial decisions. They've got this. So I want to see in the media a lot more of us when we've got this, because honestly, There's no proof that age or gender makes you have any different relationship with money. It's all about your knowledge, and it's all about knowing what you can do and how you can spend. You know that we do courses, right? So we've got the $49 mini money makeover. If you're feeling a bit financially stressed or stretched at the moment, it's a really good one to jump onto and just refresh some of those skills. It gets your mindset right. It gets you some practical skills on setting up your money, and it gives you a little exercise on goal setting. But back to Ella, who's may have felt a little bit like the junior person in the relationship with money earlier. She now wants to stand in her own power. And so getting rid of some of those fears and resentments and things that she's had in the past is her very first step. Her next step is starting to find out, either by stealth or by design, a little bit about her new partner. Like, how long have they had their job for? What else are they doing? How are they with money? What are we watching them spend or earn, or how do they seem with money? Do they seem really tight and they don't like to go out and they don't like to spend any money? Or are they quite generous, or are they somewhere in between? And then what's Ella like? Is she really likes to hold on to her money and she's a bit stressed about the whole thing? Or does she like to go out and enjoy herself and have fun and not worry about it sometimes? So somewhere in between those things is where most people are going to land. We all have moments of money stress, but we also have moments of just going out and enjoying ourselves, because that's what life is. It's the balance between that we want to look for, and the balance between that lines up with the values. So when do we have this conversation? As I said, you start having it as soon as you start seeing someone, because you're asking them questions about really getting curious about them. But then there's a moment in your relationship when it starts to get serious, when things are, you can see the change. You're starting to turn, you're starting to talk far into the future. You're starting to make big plans together. One of them for Ella was that her partner was starting to talk about introducing their children to each other. And those sort of things are big. They're big things to do. So as we're talking that big thing, let's have a little bit of chat about money. Let's start with our money stories. Let's start with how money was in our house and as we were growing up, and some of the things that we learned about money, or some of the things that we think about money. And then let's move on to, what are some of our dreams, visions, goals, aspirations? And then in the middle of that is, what's our current situation? Where are we now? Have we got a lot of credit card debt? What's the child support arrangements for both of us? What are we doing with our money on a day-to-day basis? How much do we consider about investing or savings? Often, I think at our age, when we've got that older partner, we could be just really recently separated. So our finances could be a bit of a mess, and we could have had a past really good financial history or a past really poor financial history. So let's get that out on the table and let's start talking about it. But when you feel that shame bubble, when you feel that resentment, when you feel yourself starting to get angry, just take a breath. Look at how you're showing up for yourself. Because how you show up for yourself in this money conversation will actually inform all your other money conversations. If money is a source of stress and argument for you now, then it will be a stress and argument in the future. So we're not powerless over this. This is our own conversation that we can have, and we can direct it. Sometimes we've got to examine our scarcity, but sometimes we've also got to examine the meaning that we're making from our partner's behavior. So if they seem disinterested in the conversation, if they're bored, if they don't want to have the conversation, and it's starting to make us feel tense and angry, we can shelve the conversation and we can ask them what's actually coming up for them or what's going on for them. Let's dig deep into our partner's money story, because they're not psychic. They can't see into your head and you can't see into their head. Making assumptions and making meaning out of other people's behavior when we're talking about something that can be as stressful and as controversial as money is really important. As Ella's having this conversation, she needs to be also very aware of the meaning that she's making of other people, she needs to be very aware of the meaning that she's making about how her partner is showing up for themselves in this situation. There's a lot going on here. There's the way that we are about money. There's all our media and influences from society. There's our family stories. And there's also our own opinions and experiences. So what we do in life is we make very quick decisions. It helps us, it keeps us safe. We make really quick decisions about all sorts of things. So that gives meaning to those things that may not necessarily be attached to it. If you've read Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow by Kahneman, that's what I mean. It's thinking fast, so making those really snap decisions that bring up a lot of our bias and a lot of our stories. That a lot of these things have been informed by our childhood and our own situations and aren't necessarily true. We just believe them to be true. So very importantly, as we're having money conversations that can bring up these really deep emotions, is that we notice in ourselves, are we thinking fast here? Are we just making assumptions? Are we giving things meaning that it doesn't have? Or can we take a moment? Can we look at what's actually coming up for someone? And can we perhaps even just ask them more questions about what's going on for them? Ask them questions about, I don't agree with that. I think that we need to save more money, for instance. Can you tell me why you think that's the case? Why do you think this? In one of the business books I read, I can't remember what it was, but it was a really good business book when I first started back at work as a single mum back 100 years ago. And it asks, when you make those assumptions, it said, this business book said to me, go through the 5 whys. Ask why that person's doing that. Ask why again and ask why again. So really dig deep to get some meaning out of really dig deep to get the truth out of what they're meaning rather than just making meaning about it, because that's our tendency. So that really practical conversation starts to be had. It might start over days. It might be a big sit down. Whatever way you decide to have that conversation, get your finances out in the open when you're in that part of the relationship where you can see that things are moving to the next level. And so the next part of Ella's question is, what does she do about the fact that she earns so much less than her new partner? And how's that going to inform them living together? So they've got a whole lot of decisions to make there about where they live and how they live and are they buying or renting. But one of the simplest things to do in the situation where there's a big disparity in what you're earning, and I have to say here, like, this happens all the time. At the moment, Ella's trying to study. She's doing her psychology degree. She's really got into the study. So she's only working part-time, whereas partner's working full-time. There's a big difference in income at the moment, but that's going to change in the future, right? So for now, if they live together, I would be talking about the percentage income split. So I did this with clients a couple of years ago because he was going mental about how much she was spending and how she wasn't able to look after her money. She was getting really stressed about her spending. But what actually turned out to be happening was that he earned 3 times what she earned. This is serious. Like, he was getting all the overtime and doing all the things, and he thought they roughly earned the same, which actually was nearly true, because on his base income plus her base income, they did earn nearly the same. But he got heaps of extras and allowances and overtime because of the work that he did. So when we looked at their actual income rather than their salaries, it made a big difference to what he was bringing in. So it was easier for him to spend than it was for her to spend, because he just earned more. So what we did for them is the percentage income split. So we said, okay, you're earning a third of what he's earning. You can spend on all the household bills, on all the shared expenses. You go 1/3, 2/3. It's easy. It's easy. It works really well. And it's only for those things. So if you start doing things about going out or following your dreams, there should be sufficient funds left over from the way that you've done your living expenses to enable you to do whatever it is you want with your money. and we all need a little bit of money to call our own. But that percentage income split, I really like as a way of really getting to know, or really getting something that's fair and equal for both. The conversations around what sort of home you live in, creating that vision together, they can come into that conversation as well, so that you can make decisions about where you want to live, how the study, for instance, that she's doing now is going to inform her future, so that Ella's new partner and her can walk into something feeling like equals, even though they're not giving an equal contribution. Does that make sense? I really like it as a way of doing things. So there's a thought. That way everyone can live the life that they want to. So having the conversations, yes, it can be awkward. Yes, you might get a whole lot of bubbling resentment. Manage yourself. Know what it is that you're thinking and feeling, like actually inform your decisions. Ask questions about what's coming up for the other person rather than making meaning about it. And have open conversations, so that when you start to talk about the big life changes like living together, your situation is clear. Because the flip side of that is they could choose not to live together until they were earning equally. These are life decisions that can be made along the way in your relationship whenever you want to. And it's all up to you and how you want things to go. Remember, when things get a bit tough, take a deep breath, hands on hips, stand in your power, and really the most important thing that you're doing right now is making sure that you enjoy the journey. Particularly, I'm going to see you again next week, so can't wait to talk about how to start your business. What do you need to start your business? And later today, for a podcast in the future, I am actually interviewing the amazing Jules Brooks, and I cannot wait for this. For those of you that don't know Jules, have a look into her. She's the boss, and her amazing network of women that she started during COVID. She's a dear friend, and I am really excited about this interview. So that'll be coming to you soon. Thing that we talk about on the podcast is intended to be educational, and it's general in nature. It's not taking into account your personal circumstances, so always seek advice. Now, you can catch up with us at Happy Money Journey on Facebook and Instagram. You can catch up with me on LinkedIn at Phoebe Blamey, and our website is phoebeblamey.com.au. I can't wait to see you again, and meanwhile, enjoy the journey. Disclaimer. Just a reminder that the advice that's contained in this podcast is general in nature. It doesn't take into account your individual needs and circumstances, and we recommend considering the appropriateness of any advice to your individual circumstances and needs. We always recommend seeking the advice of an expert before making any financial decisions.